when we talk network forensics, we really can't treat it like we treat our disk drive forensics. I mean, the stuff's flowing, right? Now go back to the previous module. We could talk network forensics from the respect of logging from the devices. We could look at the modem, the router, the switch, the intrusion detection system, the firewall. We could look at all of those things and they could give us information. But remember, this is more on the corporate side of things, trying to deal with malware and defense that way, less on the evil prosecution side of things. What we would need if we really truly wanted to do the evil person in our network prosecution kind of activity, we'd use the network forensics to support the local disk drive forensics. So we need to talk a little protocol here, do a little OSI model on you, and talk about investigating the traffic, network forensics, how to actually do that and analyze that data. And then we'll talk about intrusion detection systems. That's Snort for a second. We'll do the definitions on firewalls and honeypots, because a honeypot could actually be a perfect repository for network forensics. But again, it's going to be a lot of logging mechanisms there, and then that individual machine, we'd have to snapshot it and pull it off and then dig down into that particular asset as an image file. And then we'll talk about a couple of network attacks, just to get you familiar with those. I think that's more on the testing side of things, less on the forensic side of things that you would be doing on a day-to-day basis. A little bit of DNS, a little bit of DNS poisoning, and then your traffic capturing tools are going to be your best friend. If you ran screaming from the room at this moment in time and ignored the rest of what I said, know how a honeypot works, know how to set one up, honeynetd.net, and know how Wireshark works, and how to configure it, and that would be Laura Chappelle's course. So those are the two things if you ran away at this point, but kind of stick around for a little while. So session to application layer protocols. In network forensics, we want to look at these as our core protocols. The last one down on the bottom here, TFTP. Remember, that's for router configuration updates. If you're monitoring for traffic across a network, you've got an intrusion detection system set up, definitely listen for inbound TFTP from the rest of the planet to your internal infrastructure, because the rest of the planet should not be updating your router configurations from the internet, and you shouldn't be either. On the transport layer, you have to differentiate between the UDP and TCP. Remember, TCP has got a connection to it, and UDP is connectionless. So know that in your protocols and the data that's flowing there. At the network layer, we really only talk about IP in most cases from outbound, but from a testing standpoint, we definitely use ICMP. And if we're doing any kind of multicasting traffic, we use IGMP. A really nice way to look at IGMP traffic is to know that all IGMP traffic is using the Class D network. That starts at, I believe, at 240 and goes up from there to 248. So that's the IP addresses that you're looking for in the IGMP protocol for multicasting. Reverse address resolution protocol, not used as much today. I'm sure you're familiar with ARP, but RARP, when we look at that, that's for doing configurations on dumb terminals. It's the opposite, the IP to MAC address versus ARP, which is MAC address to IP address resolution. That's going from layer 2 to layer 3 and then back down as RARP. At the data link layer, we want to pay attention. If we've got dial-up lines, we want to look for point-to-point. I don't think that you're going to see any slip at this point. It's very rare. You're probably going to see a lot more MPLS traffic at the data link layer. You'll notice here that we don't talk about the physical layer. There is physical layer protocols. That's usually the physical connectivity of the thing, the RJ45, the jack that actually plugs into your machine, that shape is a specification, that is a protocol. The charge that goes around there, the voltage that goes around there, that's all a part of the physical standard. But from our standpoint as incident forensics, for forensics standpoint, we really don't look at those. So those are the data link, those are the OSI model protocols that we want to pay attention to in our network forensics, and we'll cover a little bit more in just a minute.